Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in. We're just going to take one more moment here and just to let any last minute joiners come on in. So we will start in 1 minute. Thank you. All right, so thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining our webinar today. Today, we're going to be looking at an overview of our 2020 Arctic expeditions. Just to let you know, throughout the webinar, please feel free to send us your questions, and we'll be able to reference those later. So let's start. Okay, so my name is Devin.
And my name's Brenna.
And we're your hosts for today's webinar, and as well as your in-house expedition specialists. We are very excited to be here and to share our Arctic experiences with you. So just a little bit about myself. I've been working for Adventure Canada now for 6 years, and I've participated in at least 20 expeditions, mostly focused in the Arctic. On the ship, I'm normally driving Zodiacs, part of the expedition team, or working as a cruise director. My absolute favorite part of my job is experiencing the expeditions and sharing that knowledge and helping guests select their dream trip.
I've been with the company for about 3 years now, working in different facets. In that 3 years, I've completed 6 expeditions in the Arctic as well as in European places as part of the expedition team on board. Traveling on these expeditions every season gives Devin and I that unique opportunity to answer questions based on our firsthand experience on the ship. We've been on the ship all season and now we're home, and we're really excited to have this opportunity to talk about our experiences with all of you. So before I jump into the itineraries of the trips, I just want to share a bit more about Adventure Canada and how we came to be. So Adventure Canada really stands out from the rest because we're a Canadian family-owned and operated company. We operate in our own unique way, and past travelers will tell you the Ocean Endeavour becomes a home away from home, filled with family on and off of the ship. By traveling with local experts, learned scholars, scientists, artists, authors, musicians, hunters, carvers, and expedition specialists, we hope to help passengers open their minds and their hearts.
Adventure Canada was founded in 1987 by Matthew Swan, along with his brother Bill and friend David Fries. Their mission? To educate and connect people to nature and each other through the spirit of adventure. These 3 men set the foundation for what Adventure Canada stands for today. We cultivate connection and community, we celebrate culture, and we are driven by heart, humanity, and hope. And we have a lot of fun doing it. Now, more than 30 years later, this emphasis on family is integral to who we are as a company and overflows into our expeditions. So now Matthew's 3 children have taken over the reins. On the left, you see Cedar. She's our CEO. In the middle, we have MJ. He's our Director of Business Development as well as an expedition leader. And Alana is our Director of Operations. The family legacy continues with David Fries's 2 eldest children, Dawson and Dan, who join us as kayak guides, assistant expedition leaders, and Dan is one of our expedition leaders on various trips. Their younger sister, Gwen, as well as Bill Swan's 2 daughters, Ella and Shannon, work as part of the onboard team as well. This gives us a real family feel because really, that's what we are. Our family extends into our resource staff as well, some of whom have been traveling with us for years and even decades. So here's a nice picture of some of the familiar faces that you'll see on our Arctic expeditions. We have Susie Evgantelek, who is a naturalist, or sorry, a culturalist on board with us. We have Mike Bedell, he's a photographer and explorer. Heidi Langell, she is a throat singer and culturalist. We have James Raffin, he's a filmmaker, author, and explorer. Derek Pottle, he's a hunter, carver, and explorer, as well as a culturalist. And Dr. Latonia Hartery, she's an archaeologist and filmmaker. The communities we visit are part of this dynamic as well. We believe in regenerative travel and that it's part of securing a healthy economic outlook for these communities. And that's why we established our Discovery Fund, to which every passenger contributes on every purchase of a trip. This fund helps us contribute to issues like habitat enhancement, youth outreach, community support, and the work of our many charitable partners.
The spirit of adventure led us to expedition cruising, which is not your typical cruise. Because our adventures use a ship, it can often be referred to as a cruise, but expedition travel is more appropriate, sorry. A cruise is typically for the pleasure of relaxing with perhaps a bit of learning involved, but an expedition is for the pleasure of learning with some relaxation thrown in. The Ocean Endeavour is a comfortable ship with all the amenities you'll need. One of her many great features, though, is her shallow draft, which allows her to access those isolated fjords, bays, and secluded communities, enabling us to explore some of the world's last great frontiers. Each day, you'll awake to the promise of new adventure and lands to explore. We'll always maximize our time off the ship to be on land as much as we possibly can, because this time spent exploring is really what expedition travel means to us. And that includes places we weren't expecting and sometimes places we've never even been. But that's a part of the adventure. Expedition travel is characterized by its dynamic, fluid nature. And while we have an intended itinerary for all of our expeditions, we can only do as Mother Nature allows. But with a ice class 1B hull and a team of expedition and navigational experts, there's quite a lot of possibility out there.
And on the topic of adventure, expedition travel is characterized by its use of zodiacs that get us even closer than what our ship allows. Most of the places that we're going have no docks or piers, so our zodiacs are absolutely key for daily excursions and community visits. We will use our zodiacs almost every day for heading to land, cruising in front of glacier faces, waterfalls, and icebergs, and looking for wildlife. And sometimes just for a cruise because they're a lot of fun. Zodiacs are very safe and very sturdy. Our team will always be assisting you to ensure that you are safe and comfortable in and out of the boats. The Zodiac pictured here is a testament to our average client, which is in between the ages of 55 and 75. But age is only just a number, and we've had passengers well into their 90s join us, and we are able to accommodate walkers and canes. We just ask that you're fit enough to climb a set of stairs and are able to step into a Zodiac. If you are able to walk 1 to 3 kilometers, then you will be able to maximize the benefits of expedition travel. Our expedition landings offer the opportunity for a profound sense of place in some of the most remote and beautiful places on Earth.
Our ship has often been described as a floating university because our expeditions are always in the company of 20 to 35 expert resource staff that are handpicked by Adventure Canada for each of our expeditions. We do not hire generalists for our full sailing seasons. We hire based on their knowledge in the specific region that we'll be traveling, not just for their specialty. Each of our staff will supply a never-ending stream of concentrated information about the Canadian Arctic and Greenland throughout our voyage, and they're always available to you for your questions or just to chat about your interests. Each day, our team of experts lead an extensive program on board the Ocean Endeavour, from lectures and discussion panels to music, games, workshops, and cultural presentations. But they will always be on land with you during excursions as well, experiencing it all alongside of you. This could mean themed hikes or walks, like an archaeology or geology themed hike, or something really unique like cooking country food in the land. With a team as large as ours, the possibilities are endless. In communities, we'll have interpretation from our team as well as from the local guides. But sometimes the best memories are from the moments you least expect, especially when you open your heart and mind to all that expedition travel might offer. Cultural exchange is such an important part of our mission. We always travel with people from the regions and communities we visit as part of our resource team. Sometimes referred to as culturalists, these team members are an instrumental part of our programming. They offer such valuable knowledge about these places we visit and give us the opportunity to learn about their history and culture through their lens. It's one thing to travel to a new place, but it's an entirely different experience to learn about the region from someone who calls that place home. You can look forward to learning bits and pieces of Inuktitut language, playing traditional games, and attending cultural presentations and throat singing demonstrations as a regular part of our programming.
Okay, so let's move on to our Arctic 2020 expeditions. Our Arctic season starts in southern Baffin Island before heading even further north to our High Arctic and Northwest Passage expeditions. All of our expeditions will provide opportunities to explore communities and search for wildlife on both the Canadian and Greenland side, as well as visit UNESCO and National Historic Sites. But today, we're not going to focus on the similarities, but the differences, so that you can choose the itinerary that best suits your Arctic aspirations. So now that we're both home from the Arctic with several expeditions under our belts this season, we'll speak from experience. So we begin our 2020 Arctic season in mid-July with our 13-day Heart of the Arctic expedition that visits 3 distinct Arctic regions: Nunavik, which is northern coast of Quebec, South Baffin Island, and West Greenland. On this expedition, we'll be visiting charming communities on southern Baffin Island, which are renowned for Inuit art. Kinngait, otherwise known as Cape Dorset, was ground zero for the Inuit art market and remains the location of the oldest professional Inuit printmaking studio in Canada. Kimmirut is home to the Dewey Stopper Building, which houses a gallery of outstanding works of art and carvings. This expedition is very popular for those who wish to purchase or simply appreciate Inuit art. Our friend John Houston, pictured on the left, was raised in this region of the Arctic and has an incredibly interesting family history in Kinngait, a story he will surely share with you on board, as John is a staple on our Heart of the Arctic expedition. Remember this slide from earlier? Take a closer look. There's John Houston beside David Suzuki and Matthew Swan in 1994. He is one of our original Adventure Canada resource staff and an integral part of the Adventure Canada family and our Heart of the Arctic program. People are truly the heart of the Arctic, and this trip offers more time in communities than any other expedition. And many people are unaware of how ecologically rich Hudson Strait is. The convergence of currents and resulting upwelling of deep ocean water makes this region one of the top feeding grounds for wildlife in the Canadian Arctic. Marine wildlife thrive in this area, and we can expect to see a variety of species of whales, seals, and walrus. The abundance of sea ice in late July make it optimal viewing opportunities for polar bears. July is a great time for birds. On the Heart of the Arctic program, we'll visit Apatock Island, which is named for the thick-billed murres that nest there. Apatock Island is home to 4.5% of the world's population of thick-billed murres and 6% of North America's population. After crossing the Davis Strait, we'll spend time in Greenland. We'll visit smaller communities as well as Nuuk, which is the capital, which has some really great shopping. And we'll have the opportunity to explore West Greenland and the glaciers and fjords. It's a beautiful way to end a beautiful expedition. I've had some really great memories on this voyage. I did it a few years ago. The children in the communities were always so fascinated with my zodiac, and the communities were warm and welcoming on both the Canadian and the Greenlandic side. And on the Greenland side, we visited a very small fishing community of Atilik and played a game of soccer there, which we lost pretty badly. I purchased my first Inuit carving in Cape Dorset in Kingate, muskox that I treasure to this day. And there was lots and lots of ice, lots of sea ice, which made for beautiful photography, even with my iPhone, and really great polar bear sightings at sea.
Moving away from southern Baffin Island, we adjust to the high Arctic for the remainder of our Arctic season. Our High Arctic Explorer program was so popular that we're doing it twice next year. So we'll be offering 2 different sailings. The first sailing will be northbound and the second southbound. They're identical programs, just offered back to back. You can choose to start in the north in Resolute or start south in Kangerlussuaq. It's a very exploratory trip. It has a lot of flexibility in the program to spend an ample amount of time on both the Canadian and Greenland side, visiting communities and picturesque landing sites on each, and searching for wildlife through and through. This program takes place during the summer, and it's a shorter sailing than our Northwest Passage expeditions, which makes it a really great option for those wanting to get the grandkids up to the high Arctic during their summer break from school. To enable young minds and families to experience the Arctic, we offer 30% off to our guests who are under 30 years of age. The High Arctic Explorer program is known as a mini Northwest Passage. It's a 12-day expedition and therefore a great option for those who don't have 17 days to dedicate to a Northwest Passage expedition. The 12 days spent on the ship are jam-packed, visiting many of the coveted National Historic Sites of the Northwest Passage, like Beechey Island and Dundas Harbor. The Arctic tundra in the summertime is alive with flowers, and that's a highlight for our botany enthusiasts. I just got back from the High Arctic expedition a few weeks ago. It was led by expedition leader Jason Edmonds. We were absolutely spoiled this year with the weather. It was about 10 to 15 degrees every day with clear blue skies, light winds most days. It allowed us to follow our intended itinerary, which was great. But we did have a surprise, unexpected Zodiac cruise through right outside of Prince Leopold Island, which is pictured on the bottom right here. In Mitamatalik, we were treated to bannock and tea by a fire, followed by a cultural presentation and a soccer game with the locals. Similarly to Devon, we lost terribly. Throughout the sailing, we saw lots of wildlife. We saw humpback whales, seals, birds, walrus, and polar bears. But one of my favorite stops was Ilulissat. Ilulissat's always a favorite because there's so many things to do. You can grab lunch at one of the cafes. I recommend trying the muskox burger. Or you can go shopping, catch a game of soccer with the locals, see carving demonstrations. You could visit the art gallery or the museum. And of course, the highlight is visiting the Ilulissat Glacier. Greenland's Ilulissat Ice Fjord is the seamouth of one of the fastest and most active glaciers in the world. It annually calves over 35 square kilometers of ice, more than any glacier outside of Antarctica. Pictures will just never do this place justice. It's one of those see to believe sights. The stroll along the boardwalk to the glacier is overwhelmingly beautiful. You can see it pictured here. People are taking the boardwalk to the glacier, and this picture is not altered. The ice is just seriously that massive. When I was here just a few weeks ago on the High Arctic expedition, I just found myself a quiet spot to sit along one of the hiking trails, and I sat overlooking the ice quietly, eating crowberries straight from the ground, and I could hear icebergs calving and whale blows out in the distance. It was absolutely incredible, and it's one of my most cherished memories and something I'll always remember. We had 24-hour daylight for most of the expedition, but on our last few days, we had a few hours of darkness, but only after some of the most beautiful sunsets I've ever seen. They were bright orange and pink with icebergs spotted all along the water and along the horizon. There was always a really special vibe out on deck during each of these sunsets, with a lot of the passengers hanging out, lounging, taking photos, and just really taking in the incredible coloring of the sky. It was a beautiful way to end each of those last few days together.
Next is our Canadian signature experience, our Northwest Passage expeditions. We offer 2 sailings through the Northwest Passage each year, one starting in August and the other in September. Into the Northwest Passage sails east to west, while out of runs west to east. These expeditions are truly once-in-a-lifetime journeys through the historic Northwest Passage. The Northwest Passage has been in the news a lot more frequently over the last several years with the discovery of the Erebus and the Terror, the ships from the ill-fated Franklin expedition of 1845. Other highlights for history buffs include Beechy Island and Dundas Harbor, but the passage holds so much more than Franklin's story. So now I'm going to focus on Into. The main difference is the route. Into the Northwest Passage retraces the westerly route of explorers in the 19th century and includes more time spent in Canada with a major focus on Baffin Island. Baffin Island offers that classic imagery of the Arctic with fjords that reach over 2,000 meters, some of the highest peaks in eastern North America. Baffin Island is also home to the retreating Barnes Ice Cap, the last remaining piece of the Laurentide ice sheet, and it's the size of Delaware. The Into program sails in August, offering warmer weather and making it a great choice for those interested in learning and searching for birds and botany. The migratory bird species have not quite left the Arctic yet, and the purple saxifrage will be in full bloom as temperatures average around 7 degrees Celsius or 44 degrees Fahrenheit. The communities we visit on Baffin Island are part of the Kekatani region of Nunavut. Language, art, and hunting remain a cornerstone of life on Baffin Island. You can expect to walk through the communities with local guides, enjoy presentations hosted by the hamlets, meet locals, purchase some local art or products, and make some new friends. I had the opportunity to travel on the Into the Northwest Passage this season, and I was just on the ship 2 weeks ago. A major highlight for me included cruising the massive icebergs in Ilulissat. This picture was taken from that day. We had a really great humpback whale sighting that lasted for hours. They were feeding just at the base of the icebergs. Another highlight was cruising the glacier faces in Canada. We saw some really great calvings and had the opportunity to maneuver around the brash ice. We also had a really good walrus encounter this year off of Devon Island, as pictured above, and we even saw narwhal on Into, which was a really rare treat. We've had luck over the past several years spotting narwhal and belugas in the fjord systems on Baffin Island. But this was probably my highlight for sure. I've had the opportunity to do the Northwest Passage expedition at least once over the last 6 years, but this year I got to do something really unique. We needed an icebreaker. We needed icebreaker assistance en route to Cambridge Bay, and this was a major thrill for our guests, but especially for me. This was my first experience with an icebreaker in the Arctic, and I spent almost the entire 2 hours out on the bridge wing listening to the ice break and scanning for polar bears. And we even saw a mother polar bear teaching her 2 cubs how to jump into the water from the sea ice as we sailed past. It was a glorious day. And Brenna and I have had the opportunity to travel together once before. It was on our Out of the Northwest Passage last September in 2018. Brenna, do you want to take it from here?
Yeah, thanks, Devin. Instead of Baffin Island, the Out of the Northwest Passage expedition swings north instead, towards Ellesmere Island, where we'll visit the locals in Canada's most northerly community, Grise Fiord. This expedition typically attracts adventurous spirits, looking to go through the passage, but also as far north as they can get into Smith Sound. We'll push as far north as we can, with a chance to sail up to 79 degrees north, passing magnificent fjords and glaciers along the way. This is truly a trip of a lifetime. This route focuses more on Greenland's west coast, with no stops on Baffin Island. We will visit more remote Greenlandic communities and spend our exploratory days cruising or hiking the Greenland tundra, fjords, and glaciers of the mountainous west coast. This photo here was taken on the trip that Devin and I did together. You can see me at the front leading a group to the glacier in Ita, located in northern Greenland. It was a particularly special stop because you can actually reach out and touch this glacier, which makes for incredible photos, but it was also my first time touching a glacier. So that was spectacular.
I also loved the Ita day that we had together, but for different reasons. My favorite part was the Zodiac ride to the glacier. In order to access Ita, we had to cruise down this really narrow fjord that took around 30 minutes. And if you can imagine, we were traveling down this really narrow body of water. And on each sides of our Zodiac on land, there were families of muskox. And they were so close, we didn't need binoculars at all. This was my absolute favorite muskox encounter I've ever had, and something I will never forget.
When Devin and I were on this trip, we had the opportunity to spend time in Umanak. Umanak means invigorating and is named after the 1,175-meter heart-shaped mountain that lies behind the town that you can see here. Umanak is a haven for Inuit culture and proud locals. It was such a touching experience for us to be welcomed by local young musicians who later put on a musical performance for us. Myth has it that when you visit Umanak, a piece of your heart remains on the island forever, summoning you back for the rest of your days. I'm not one for superstitions, but I will say that Umanak has a special energy to it, and it'll surely capture your heart when you're there.
Here's another photo from that same trip. We had this spectacular walrus encounter off of Devon Island. This is pictured here. It was 30 plus walrus all in a group. And that same day, we had an estimated 250 beluga whales that were swimming along the shore edge. It was an incredible wildlife day. In September, the sun will begin to set, which allows for the opportunity for aurora borealis. It's a key reason for many travelers deciding between the two trips. And while it's not totally impossible to see the northern lights on the INTO program, it is just not as likely. The trip is slightly cooler. Temperatures tend to hover around 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and hikes may be over freshly dusted snow. Adventure Canada has exclusive access to the famed HMS Erebus site. We first secured this partnership with Parks Canada in 2017, but true to history of the passage, making it through to this site has been challenging thanks to extreme weather and ice barriers. But proud to announce that just this past week we made history, and passengers who are currently sailing right now on our Out of the Northwest Passage expedition made it to the site. And they are some of the first members of the general public to visit the Erebus wreck site. Our passengers watched footage from underwater remote controlled cameras, visited the location where the ship went down, met Parks Canada experts who researched the site and shared artifacts and replicas from the wreck, and met several of the Joe Haven Guardians who are charged with monitoring this wreck area. All of our Arctic programs offer the opportunity for wildlife and what we call the Arctic Big Five: narwhal, beluga whales, walrus, muskox, and of course polar bears. It's difficult to say whether you'll have better luck on one trip over another. Last year we had incredible wildlife on Out of, but this year INTO turned into the wildlife trip. The Arctic is very rich, and each of our trips have possibilities to spot the animals that call it home. Expedition travel to the Arctic is all about adventure. We have a tentative route and we know when and where we're supposed to go, but in true expedition spirit, we're just as dependent on the weather and ice conditions as the early explorers. But we have all the innovations in technology and navigation to keep us safe. No matter what expedition you choose, the Arctic is a voyage of a lifetime.
For those of you who are wondering or you're a bit worried about seasickness, rest assured, the Ocean Endeavour is a sturdy ship that was built for Arctic waters. She's fully equipped with an Ice Class 1B hull and state-of-the-art stabilizers and a heavy bottom, so she handles herself quite well during times of rougher weather. The Ocean Endeavour has modern amenities to keep you comfortable on your adventure, like her gym, library, heated saltwater pool, hot tub, 2 saunas, as well as a full spa offering massages and nail treatments. We have 10 different categories of cabins available, ranging from a shared dormitory style to interior, porthole, picture window, and suites, which include options with matrimonial beds. All of our categories have ensuite washrooms. Our Category 1 and 2 cabins are a great option for those traveling solo and are willing to share with others. These are single-gender dorm-style cabins that have 3 or 4 beds in the cabin and one or two washrooms for sharing. For single travelers who prefer not to share, we have a limited quantity of solo cabins available in cabin categories 3 to 7 with no single supplement. What does this mean? It means that a solo traveler can book a private cabin to themselves without being penalized with that single supplement fee. This has been extremely popular, and we typically travel with about 30 to 50 single travelers on board any given expedition. We won the World Nomads Solo Travel Award in 2018, and we're up for nomination again this year. The ship has extensive lounge space out on deck for everyone to enjoy the outdoors and the passing views and get some great shots of the incredible wildlife, ice, and landscapes that will come by. The ship has 3 lounges, 3 bars, 1 library, and 1 dining room. Breakfast and lunch are served buffet style, and dinner is an a la carte 4-course meal. Meals on board are always served with fresh and sometimes local provisions, and the kitchen is able to accommodate those with dietary needs and restrictions. All of our 2020 expeditions are presently on promotion until October 31st, so you can receive 15% if you book your 2020 expedition before October 31st. The best part about this promotion is that it's combinable with our no single supplement cabins. And once you've traveled with us once, you become a member of our League of Adventurers, a loyalty program that saves you 5 to 10% off your future expeditions with us.
All right, so thank you very much, Brenna, and thank you everyone for joining. I can see a lot of really great questions in the chat box, and what we've decided we're going to do is that we will answer each and every one of them, but in writing. So you'll receive an email within 72 hours with a link to the recording as well as the answers to each of the questions.
Okay, so now let's talk about our contest. All attendees who are here today can enter for your chance to win a $2,000 credit towards your 2020 Arctic expedition. So any of those expeditions that we went through today, our Heart of the Arctic, our High Arctic Explorer, and our Northwest Passage expeditions, you could put this $2,000 credit towards. So what do you need to do? You need to email info@adventurecanada.com. Write that email down, info@adventurecanada.com, and tell us which 2020 Arctic expedition you would put the credit towards and why. The contest is open until tomorrow, September 12th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll randomly draw the winner from the submissions, and we'll send an email out to everyone to notify of who won the contest.
Okay, so thank you very much for attending, and that's it for us for now.
Yes, so we're going to show a short video for anyone who wants to stick around. I think this video really summarizes the Adventure Canada feel that you're going to see on board. So we're going to get the video launched here, and I hope you enjoy.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Time is currently 0600 on Saturday, August the 29th. Our current position is 74 degrees, 47 minutes north, 83 degrees, 15 minutes west. Outside temperature is sitting at 8 degrees Celsius or 46 degrees Fahrenheit. We have a wonderful day of glacier cruising, wildlife viewing, and hiking the Arctic tundra. It's time to get up and enjoy this beautiful landscape. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
You can read books, you can watch TV shows, but when you're out here on the tundra yourself, listening to people who really know what they're talking about, it's a whole different world.